I'm doing fine. How's it going?
Pretty good, ma'am. And you are in Washington, D.C. again?
Yes, I am.
Trying to get into those United States Marine Corps tourist areas that were overcrowded and you wasn't able to go to last time. Really? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, that and an omnibus that just went through. I have no idea what it was, but it was a big bus.
I am going to tell you something. That bill, I spent a little time talking about that and all these great raises that they put in there and special things. Oh my goodness. And 2,300 pages and they give you 48 hours. I guess you're supposed to stay up 48 hours to read the bill. It is absolutely ridiculous. We had 90-something Republicans that voted against the bill. Good for them. 33 miles of the fence, I think. Kimberly, is that right? 33
Not even. It's not even that. It's not like sustainable. It's more like the chain link fence or pedestrian fence they call it. So not even a border wall.
Yeah, but just by sign. Please do not cross this line or something like that.
Yeah.
You know? My goodness.
Yeah, and I think what's of course the president signed it and had a brief press conference today talking about that. And from what I'm seeing on social media, what I'm talking to people here in Washington D.C., even though this is a town that thrives on money and getting money from the taxpayers and that, the mood here is changed. I think that you're seeing a lot of the Republicans here or people that just voted for the president saying, what is he doing? Why did he sign this bill? He didn't get any of his core things that he really wanted in it, and he basically took Chuck and Nancy's word that, don't worry, we'll get back at you later on in the year, and perhaps they'll give him some sort of, money for the wall or not. But I think what stuns a lot of people, $1.3 trillion, this only gets us through September. This isn't even for the entire year. So you're looking at, so I mean, it's stunning. It's stunning. And, lawmakers fled as soon as they voted last night. They're going to most likely go into hiding because I'm telling you, the party here, the GOP is completely depleted. They are just, you can't even describe. It's a true sense of betrayal by the president signing this, and you're seeing it on social media and here in D.C.
No, Kimberly, I didn't see the exact news conference he held on it, but I read something on it before I went on the air, and it's something like he says, I signed this bill, but I'm going to tell you right now, I will never, ever sign a bill like this again in my whole life. Come on. If you had a pair, just don't sign it in the first place.
Yeah, I don't know and who knows? I mean, D.C. is a town where you make deals. I mean, maybe he made a deal behind the scenes saying, hey, you know what, my family's getting tired of this whole Mueller investigation. You guys know you have nothing. And maybe the Democrats and some of the, elites got together and said, hey, you signed this bill for us, and we'll make the Mueller investigation go away so you can kind of, resume being somewhat of a normal president. There's no words to explain what he did. And you saw when I watched him on the press conference here, he didn't look like himself. He wasn't happy. And the fallback is that we're going to help the military. This is for the military. The majority of the spending's for the military. And while that may be true, the military is not getting the pay increases that they were expecting. They're getting some, but not what they were expecting. And, this is going to make a lot of defense contractors fat, dumb, and happy, unfortunately.
The first thing I thought about this morning when I found out, it went through, no veto. But once again, they put that guilty stain on there because last night, I guess it was a thought, well, we're coming into a break, but basically it's like, no, it wasn't a thought, it was One American News. Yes, the guy kept saying, well, they're giving the military really need that because a lot of security stuff going on, had to have that money for the military, had to have the money for the military.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the number one answer. Once again, piggyback run.
Yep.
Kimberly Borak, her website, leadkvreport.com. She's streaming live at periscope.com. Everybody has a song. Well, there's our guest with my guest,
Yeah, like I was going to say, with regards to the president and all of this, I mean, you have to think that he's fighting against the establishment GOP. He's fighting against every single Democrat. He's fighting against 95% of the mainstream media, as well as a lot of alternative media. And he's not going to make any friends with his base signing something like this. So he's fighting against absolutely everybody. And even though he says he likes chaos and he likes running, and it's, I don't need sleep and I'm fine and don't worry about it. After 14 months, it will take a toll. I mean, it's hard to watch your family get slammed. It's hard to watch CNN go after you 24/7. And I think when he looks back on this, when people look back on this in history, it's going to be, I'm hopeful that some members of that are in the media are a little bit ashamed at some of the coverage that they're actually putting out there. I mean, I watched Fox News, and if something happens, I mean, the anchors are gleeful. They're like smiling and happy, and the same thing with CNN. And when you look at it from that perspective, we've gotten a long ways from our Walter Cronkite days, where we're supposed to be reporting the news, and you're not supposed to be happy or sad one way or the other. It's just the news. But what we have now is we have members of media that are gleeful, that are happy that this is happening to our country. And meanwhile, Congress and the Senate gave themselves, extra salary increases and increased their expenditures where they can go out to, they increased the money. The people on Main Street and the average American is not getting that big of a raise. They're getting well more than what taxpayers are going to be getting with the Trump tax cut. So it's so disingenuous, and you can't get away with saying, "Hey, just give us the Senate, give us the House, give us the White House. We'll do this," because they have all of this, as you know, Chuck. And that's what I mean. Today, I think, was a huge blow to the base that took a chance on Donald Trump and said, "Hey, we're going to go after this guy. We're going to vote for him because he's going to clean up. He's going to drain the swamp." And the swamp seems to be growing.
We don't want you to play both ends, Mr. President. We want you to drain the swamp and make America great again.
And build a wall. I mean, build a wall. That was like something that was one of the very beginning, platforms that he ran on. Build the wall. Build the wall. That's what he ran on.
Well, maybe this is good news, Kimberly. If he doesn't build a wall now, okay, right? Maybe he's got more time to lock her up.
Yeah. Well, you have to look at it from the voters' perspective. And the only thing that this bill does is just, our kids and grandkids are saddled with historic amount of debt. And lawmakers on either side of the aisle there were several, I don't want to discount the 93, I believe, congressmen, Republicans that voted against this, and the handful in the Senate that voted against this. But other than that, these people all have done this country a huge disservice, and it's just, it's a catastrophic hit for the president, and I think that he's going to see this in coming days. We talk about him every week, and we try to get support him and try to get the news out. But I'm just saying, today is a different day. This is more than what President Obama and his big omnibus went through. So when you see it, that's sad.
We kind of have this going for the midterm election that the Democratic Party is the party of no. Remember how we talked about that? There's a no party. They just want you to get taxes, relief and all that stuff. They didn't vote for the tax bill. No, there's a party of no. But when it comes to 145 Republicans and only 111 Democrats in favor of the bill, all of a sudden the Republicans, are, you know what I'm saying? We're the ones that are turning it around now. Also, it's interesting how the mainstream media picks their little battle. You know how they describe President Trump as being a bully, the way he talks and blah, blah, blah. So now all of a sudden Biden is the bully, but they're not reporting that Biden is the bully. I can beat him up. No, I can beat him up.
Yeah.
There's so much craziness out there.
Yeah, and like I said, it seems like the media, and it's, I'm a part of the media in it's a very sad part of our work now is that it just seems like it's just let's just destroy, defeat, and it just to me is like it's not news. I mean, it's like kick somebody when they're down, or let's at all costs we're going to bring down the president, not to think about what's going on in the country. And for the most part, the most of the country outside the Beltway and maybe the left coast and the right coast, they really could care less what's going on here in Washington D.C. At the end of the day, when you pass bills like this, or you're sniping at at the president as much as you do, and you ignore any similar behavior on the other side of the aisle, you're really making yourself an pointless human being. And by that I mean that the American people are just going to look at you, and it's like the boy that cries wolf. When you really need that call to go out, nobody's going to believe you any longer. And that's the real danger here. And that's the danger with this, with the media the way it is. And like I said, it's a very saddening thing. It's very frustrating because there are a lot of people out there that want to get the news and just aren't getting a fair shake at what the news really is. And sadly, you're going to see, I think now this will cement what happens in November, because the voters just simply are not going to come out and vote. Trump's not going to be on the ticket. They're most likely going to stay home saying, why should we go vote for you? And that will set up, I don't know if it'll set up a complete historical wave like we saw with the Tea Party, but it's going to set up some pretty big numbers for the Democrats to possibly retake the House. This does that, and now you're going to have the media piling on, and they're going to be piling on saying, look, oh yeah, we're going to jump on the GOP while they're down. And trust me, over the next week or two and the following months, that's what you're going to see this media do. So now they've got Trump at all angles.
Yeah, and and with the mainstream media, as you say, 95%, it's almost close to 100, that's for sure. Maybe 99. All against Trump. I was looking at a story, and it was talking about the House Intelligence Committee, all right? And they said, we have concluded that the former director of the National Intelligence, James Clapper, misled Congress. Now, when the mainstream media talks about it as misled, when it's one of their people,
Yeah.
they love to say, like Flynn lied, so-and-so lied. But now it's misled. It's amazing how they can come up with the right word.
Well, that's what I mean. And this is where they're going to lose credibility with the people at large by continuing down this constant narrative. When something big happens, like we have some sort of terrorist attack, or we have some sort of health issue that takes the country, or whatever the issue might be, people are not going to turn to the news and go, I can believe that story. When we need to know that the president is not doing what he's supposed to do, and we need to hold him accountable, people are not going to trust the media to tell them that story. And it's more than just a First Amendment issue here. I mean, the media has got to learn, and actually, I'm astonished how they can't sit and look. I can sit and complain about Trump all day long if I wanted to. I could start with the bill that he signed. I think it's something that's maybe going to be difficult for our country to overcome. But to have such anger towards one individual and to do it over and over and over again, it's the wolf that's crying, constantly, and people are going to turn on the TV and they're going, I just don't believe that anymore, because none of it's come true. And so far, the president, regardless of signing this bill, but so far with the investigation into his background, they haven't found anything other than salacious extramarital affairs, if that's, and that's what they're alleging. That's all they found. Where were these girls when he was running for president? Who knows? So, we don't even know if this is, fact or fiction. And this is the problem. When it gets to be where we really need it, and we really need to believe in our media, where are they going to be? People aren't going to believe them.
And there was a story today that came out, and the mainstream media was treating it like it was brand new news. Russia, bigwig at NRA.
Yeah.
All right, and all had to do with, oh yeah, that's how I met Trump through the NRA, and it's like a year and a half old story.
So you're in it. it's a year and a half old story, and it's the same players that are involved in this that were involved in the Russia story. So it's nothing new, but the media, again, they're not coming out and talking about the story fairly because of the whole, Parkland high school shooting thing. Hey, let's bring down Trump and let's tie him to the NRA, because those NRA members, they're all evil terrorists as well. Not to mention that the millions who are actually NRA members are, middle-aged, poor, normal, people, that live in this country. Yeah, so, it's just pointless.
Well, you got the children watching, and now they'll tie in with the NRA, and let me ask you, because another thing that they're going to be talking about, of course, is that McMaster finally. I'm going to tell you, I have a lot of I have a couple of particular guests that do a lot of research, and you're a great researcher too. But H.R. McMaster should have never been there. Okay, of his stance on a lot of things.
Yeah.
So now. Here comes John Bolton. They're even describing him as, what was the Russian mustache? Something like that. Easy to identify, but
Yeah.
I want to get your opinion on that, because, he was with George W.
Yeah. Well, and if you remember, they wanted to install him as the UN ambassador, and he couldn't make it through a confirmation hearing, so they installed him for I think he was there for a year and a half, 18 months or so. He served in that position before he moved on. He's someone who is like Trump. He basically says, what's on his mind. He wants to rip up the Iranian nuclear deal. He is a supporter of the uprisings that are taking place in Iran, and of course we've been covering that on your show here for the last month or so. And so for that perspective, you have to give him a chance here. He's not going to be necessarily a cabinet member, because he's not, doesn't go through the process of the nomination and going through confirmation. He's going to have the president's ear, and I think he's going to be telling the president a little bit more what he wants to hear. Okay, in Yemen, maybe we need to get out. This is what we should do. The president may want to hear those kind of stories. I think that the president was with McMaster. They were on two different playing fields, and the president, I think, just simply got tired of him going, okay, you're giving me this advice, but I don't think it's good advice, and hearing it over and over. And a lot of people will say that, he was tied to, the never Trumpers a little too much. And McMaster was definitely a part of that crew, and he made it into the White House. So I think with Bolton, he will find a little bit more of an ally. This is the job that you mentioned Flynn's name. This was Flynn's job. And I think that Bolton is probably going to be I don't want to say a yes man for the president, but he's going to be on his side when it says, okay, look, we need to deal with Iran. We need to deal with what's going on in Israel. We need to deal with what's going on in North Korea. But I think it's going to be more to the president's liking than simply trying to stir things up. So I think he'll find somebody that he can, talk to. We'll see how long the media, is, how long it lasts for Bolton, because the media will most definitely go after him and search for anything and everything.
Well, see, if I was a funny talk show host, what I could say is, if I have it right, we brought John Bolton on, so he no longer has to wait for him to appear on Fox. Hey, get Bolton in here, so he doesn't have to, all right,
Yeah. Well, yeah, but no, it just, Bolton is, he's a lightning rod for the left, so this is what we need to look for with Bolton. Like I said, he's going to be aligned with the president's ideas. So I think that they're going to find common ground and a good working relationship. What's going to happen is you're going to see the left go apoplectic over Bolton and try to tie him to everything that you can think of under the sun. So how long will he last in that job under the scrutiny of a dishonest mainstream media? That's what we're going to be facing here. It's a role where, Flynn, who I interviewed and absolutely thought that, at least he was, good for the president, because he wasn't necessarily on the left or the right on issues. He was a career military guy and was offering serious solutions for the problem since he served. We'll have to see with Bolton. I mean, like I said, with Iran, that deal's gone, and I think that that's going to have the Ayatollah really concerned. Yeah.
Get the word out. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, Kimberly, if you want to spend the last couple of minutes, very little time on either side, we'll talk about that little California town, you know.
There we go.
It's a pretty big town. They got a big horse race thing there, you know. Anyway, I'll let Kimberly tell you all about it. The ADReport.com. CRN Wilder with my guest, Kimberly DeBorak, award-winning national security, border security, investigative reporter, TV, radio, print media, and one of her latest postings has to do with California towns that know that Governor Brown's sanctuary state law. What's on with this?
Yeah, well, you have a small town, or a small little town within Orange County, Los Alamitos, that actually came out and took a vote on sanctuary status, and they decided that they were going to part ways with Governor Jerry Brown and the state legislature's law. It's bill number 54 that actually makes California a sanctuary state, and it actually interferes with federal law enforcement agents in California. They broke with them and said, look, we're tired of what's going on in this state. We're going to allow our law enforcement officers in our city to work with law enforcement agents at the federal level, and we're following our constituents that are telling us that it's constitutional and that federal law usually trumps, pun intended here, state law. Now, I'd like to just read this one quote because I find it absolutely astonishing that an attorney by the name of Emmy McLean, she's a state attorney for the National Day Labor Organization Network, she said that state law is not a recommendation. It's not optional, and it's binding. And she goes on to say that the question to her is, why is this city part of, President Trump's dragnet, roundup policies? I mean, this is, isn't federal law not optional as well? I mean, to think that California state's law trumps federal law, that absolutely is the opposite. And to see attorneys coming out and stating this, you have someone from the ACLU coming out and saying that, the immigrant communities are worried because now that these cities are going to be part of Trump's deportation dragnet. This is coming from the ACLU. What I have heard, and as Los Alamitos story gained traction earlier in the week, you're seeing other cities now inside California, like Temecula, who are saying, okay, you know what? We're going to follow suit because we do not believe that we should be allowing these illegal aliens who are convicted of serious crimes. We're not going to work with ICE and our federal partners. So I think what you're seeing is quietly in some of the cities, you're going to start seeing more of these issues on the front pages of the local newspapers, because I think a lot of people on this particular issue, it's a common sense issue. If you are in the country illegally and then you go on to break multiple U.S. federal or state laws, you shouldn't probably be in this country. So I think that this is a common sense one. It's I think a long time in coming. California, as you know, we are both residents, and we've watched the Democrats completely take over the state. Maybe this issue will open the eyes of some of the Californians, and maybe there'll be one Republican elected in the state, because as far as statewide offices, not one Republican. It's 100% Democrat.
Well, now we know, don't we? And then with a crying point, we're just protecting our citizens. Let's see now, you're letting the bad guy out that should be locked up, and he's already, manipulating your citizens, and threatening them, and that makes a lot of sense. Like, they don't want to come out of the shadows. Well, all right. Hey, Kimberly, enjoy your stay there in Washington, D.C. Look forward to speaking to you again very soon.
Thank you.